Hey everyone, John here with Pro H Paintball. I am back with another weekly tech video. Today I've got the Planet Eclipse Emek 100 with the infamous murder machine trigger. I'm going to show you how to install it. If you're new to our channel, we release weekly tech videos along with product review videos. So if that's something you enjoy watching, make sure you hit subscribe. Be sure to watch the full video because at the end of it, I show you how to set the set screws and a couple little tweaks to really make the trigger feel great. Let's get started.
Me do my two-step.
All right, let's get started installing this murder machine trigger in your Emek. I'm pretty excited about this, and of course, make sure you watch the full video. I do have a little trick at the end to show you how to lighten up the trigger and go ahead and adjust the set screw so it feels really good. So you're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 1/8 Allen key. This should come with your Planet Eclipse kit if you buy your gun new. And then of course in your murder machine trigger, you're gonna get the trigger pin and the trigger itself. Make sure you have both of those. So go ahead and unscrew the back one here. Do that there. And of course, don't forget, if you find this video useful, please take a second and say thanks by liking our video. It means a lot to us. It really helps our channel grow. And of course, it helps our video show up to other players like yourself that might be interested in something similar. So 1/8 Allen key, go ahead and take your front grip screws out. That's gonna be your front one and your rear one. They'll just pull right out, and then the gun is gonna pivot up and the body's gonna come off the top. And set that to the side. All right, you wanna be careful here. There are 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are Phillips head there. So you wanna go ahead and take your Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew 4 of those. So this isn't a fine head, like a real fine tip or anything like that. You don't wanna go too small because it actually strip these screws out. Go ahead and unscrew these. If you guys have any questions about the install or anything like that, anything I might miss, go ahead and comment below. Or of course, if you enjoy it or if you found the video useful, comment. Tell me what you think. We're definitely stepping up our YouTube game and trying to do better videos, better quality, more detailed. One thing, also be careful. This little rubber gasket here can come out. Typically, it stays in pretty well because it has lube on it. But just make sure that stays clicked down in place there. Okay, so once I do this last screw here, there's a spring underneath here. This will try to press up just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and use my finger to press the back of this plastic piece and go ahead and pull it up and go ahead and get that last 4th screw out. And then the plate, lay that over, and this is the spring I was talking about, and it will just fall out. So you wanna be careful. If you have a messy area, you're gonna lose this spring and you really do need this. Okay, so next, the safety will it can fall out the side, so go ahead and pull that out. I'm going to push that to the left side of the frame. So take my finger here, press it, push it out. Good to go. I'm kind of laying these out in the order in which I took them out. Maybe make it easier for you guys to watch and keep up with. And then you are going to need a small punch, like a hammer and a punch. So once you get a small hammer, you don't have to use a big hammer like this. I'm going to use it to knock out the trigger pin here. So you want to be careful on this one. I'm going to knock it on this gun in particular. It's going to punch from the right side to the left, meaning I'm going to take my punch here, punch from the right side to the left. What you're going to look for, there's going to be small grooves on the pin. On one side there'll be grooves, on one side there will not be. The side that has grooves is the side that is going to come out. Those grooves help stay in the plastic and grip it to the plastic or the rubber piece, the grip, so it doesn't just fall out while you're playing. So the groove side is the side you're going to punch it out. So I'm going to take it here and then I'm just going to tap it. Should come out pretty simple. That pin is going to come out there. Hopefully you can see that there are grooves on that pin. That is the side I punched it out, that side there. Go ahead and lay that. You don't need that anymore. And go ahead and pull the stock trigger out. Pretty straightforward. So there's no bearings on that compared to the infamous one. So you do have bearings. It's going to make it smoother and an easier trigger pull. Lay that there. So next, now that you've got the stock trigger out, you're going to go ahead and take your murder machine trigger and grab that spring that we took out. And the reason for this, on a stock trigger, the spring just sits on here. On the infamous ones we found, you kind of have to work it on this piece, and it's much easier to do it out of the gun before you go ahead and put the trigger in. So this will save you a little bit of headache if you were to do this on your own. So what I like to do is go ahead and grab it, and I'm going to take this spring and put it on the kind of the corner and spin it with my finger. And this is kind of difficult. I've seen people, they'll take sandpaper or a Dremel and kind of Dremel around the edges of it. I like this way a little bit better. It's a little more difficult, but it makes sure that the spring stays on at all times. So take it here, and I'm going to grip it pretty firmly in my left hand, this hand here, and spin it. And the reason I'm spinning it, it kind of helps, there we go. It's going to help grab it and kind of thread it on that small piece. So now, as you can tell, that spring is on there. It's not going anywhere. So that is one thing I make sure you don't forget to do. That can be a pain. If it's inside the gun, it's not going on there very easy. Okay, so now that we've got the spring on there, you're going to go ahead and take your trigger pin and going to drop the trigger into the gun from the top. And you want to make sure that the hole lines up. It's pretty easy. So make sure that the bearings line up with the trigger. And then just slide your trigger pin from the left to the right side. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of moving the trigger around until I get this piece to slide all the way in. And you're set, good to go there. So on this one in particular, this isn't gripped very firmly in there, but once I tap it in a little bit more with a hammer, it sticks in pretty good. So, okay, so now that I've got the trigger in place, I'm good to go. We have to put the trigger safety back in, and then the plate, and then the screws. So the safety is going to come from the left side of the gun. Sorry, my wrist hurts. And slide that in. I'm just going to wiggle it back and forth until it's in. Make sure it's all the way in there. And then as far as this plate, you're going to use this small hole here. So you have a large hole, which is going to go forward. So large hole is going to go forward, and this small hole here has kind of like a cup, basically like a cup looking piece that's going to hold the spring into place. And I'm just going to line up that hole with the spring, press it down. And this is where you would normally screw all your screws back together and mount it in, and that's pretty straightforward. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I have a little trick that I'd like to show you. So what I would recommend is go ahead and take your spring, take all this back out if you want to do this. Otherwise, you just go ahead and screw the screws back in, and you can skip through the video real quick. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a standard pin, ballpoint pin that has a clicker on it, and grab the spring and go ahead and take this completely off. So take this spring out, kind of unscrewing it. And from my experience, this lightens the trigger pull quite a bit while still giving it the reliability that you're going to get on your Emek. So if you're really trying to fine tune your Emek trigger and you really want to get in there, Planet Eclipse doesn't like for people to do this a lot, so you do have a risk of reducing the reliability of your trigger because it is lighter. It's not going to basically be as forceful. It is going to make the trigger pull lighter, but it's not going to make it as forceful pushing back. So if you ever get shot in your trigger frame, you may have to clean a little more often with this. So I did the same thing. I put the spring on here on the trigger itself. I'm going to drop it back in, put the trigger pin in, slid it to the side, go ahead and line it up, and go ahead and get it in. Good to go like that. And same thing. So this is where we left off in the first trigger, the trigger spring. We're going to take the hole, and I'm not going to cut this at all. I'm going to go ahead and press this down all the way down, so it's compressing that trigger spring for the new one. Oh, and make sure you don't forget the safety in. Sorry. So before you put the top piece on, put the safety back in. Now you're going to want to put this piece on. The big hole goes towards the front of the frame, large hole to the front. Go ahead and put your 4 screws in and screw them in. On some of the triggers, you do need to adjust the set screws before you can fire the gun. Sometimes it'll be too close to it. So you're going to, I'll show you that real quick here in a minute. Okay, now that I've got all 4 screws in there, this trigger pull is much lighter. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the body. And you want to have an air tank on hand. That way you can test the trigger pull itself. And then go ahead and grab your air tank. Now that you've grabbed your air tank, I have a little muffler here so it's not so loud. Screw that on. Go ahead and screw your air tank in. Here, air up. And on some of these we've had them where they don't want to fire at first because the front set screw, so there's 3 of them. There's a top set screw, a middle set screw, and a bottom one. That middle one has been in too far, screwed to the right too far in, and it won't allow the gun to fire. So you want to go ahead and take your, I want to say your 1/16 Allen key, I believe is what it is. Let's double check that. 1/16 Allen key, yep. And I'll move those tags out. And unscrew it just about a quarter turn. And that's going to give you plenty of room for everything to set correctly. And then you're good to go. So if you really want to tweak this, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you really want to tweak this trigger, you can set this middle one to be much closer. And the way you can do that is by unscrewing it left or right. That's going to make it where it's a real short trigger pull. And again, you don't want it too short because then it won't fire consistently. You want a reliable gun. That's one thing that Planet Eclipse is known for. So that's pretty good. And then the top screw is going to reduce the rake of the trigger. So as you screw the top screw up, it's going to press this trigger more vertical. So basically that screw is sitting at the top, and as you screw it up, it pushes the trigger back. So you adjust the top set screw to adjust the rake, and you can really get in there. What I would recommend is go through and basically fine tune it to how you like it. Now that you know which screw does what, you can really get in there and mess with it. Or straight out of the box, works pretty well. But like I said, I do recommend to go ahead and take like a half turn or a full turn out of that middle screw to the left counterclockwise to make sure you give yourself plenty of room to adjust it. Much shorter trigger pull, much lighter trigger pull with the bearings. It makes it really nice. And again, on the tab, I forgot to say, on the trigger pin here, I'm going to take the back of my screwdriver and just tap it into place. Make sure that the grooves and everything hit. That way it doesn't move at all. Other than that, it is straightforward, good to go. I love these triggers. It's super nice. If I missed anything, if anything was a little confusing, please comment below. If you guys have any questions about the triggers, we do carry these on our website, prohpb.com. Go ahead and shop that new website that we built here 2020. And again, any comments or any video ideas, please message us through social media or comment below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.